Episode number 32 in Creative Love Radio. Why do people have problems finding love? The big question we are going to answer today on the show. So stay tuned. Welcome to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. We are redefining relationships to guide you to greater love, more success, and living your purpose through the latest research in neuroscience, Jungian psychology, and Eastern wisdom. Get ready for another inspirational episode of Creative Love Radio. Episode number 32, Creative Love Radio. Why do people have problems finding love?
Yeah.
And Rob, you have all the answers to this one, don't you?
Well, there's three big areas that we want to talk about. But first, let's talk about our event in New York.
Ooh. Creative Love Live. It is April 21st and 22nd in New York City in Soho. We rented a loft there. It's on Prince Street. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have a little rooftop for breaks and for a champagne celebration. That's my favorite part of the whole
Yeah, you always
the whole
mention
weekend.
The champagne.
But we want to make it, let everyone know that it's not a heavy
Heal
yourself type of event. It's really positive. We're really going to show you how you can use your mind to get out of your own way and finally meet the love of your life. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. And much more than that, it's about creating your life and really taking the reins of what happens in your life. Mm-hmm. You know, instead of waiting for the right person to show up accidentally like in the movies.
The happy accident.
You take charge of it. And it's an exciting process, so we hope to see you there.
Yes, we will help you take the mask off, these blinders that have been stopping you from seeing love that could be right in front of you. And you can't see it. You can't stop yourself because you don't see what's happening. You'll be more clear on why you've had the relationships you've had in the past and what you clearly can do to change it and find love this year. So if you're interested, come to our website at debbieandrob.com and click on events and ask more about it.
Yeah.
So speaking of love, why do people have trouble finding love? Why do we have problems, so many problems?
Yeah.
And we're going to pinpoint three main areas.
Yeah, if we look at the timeline of love, the first one is the past. Mm-hmm. A lot of people get stuck in the past. Why? Because they have an early love experience that's very intense, very powerful. It's that first love, that just, you think you discovered something new, right? You think nobody knows.
So magical.
Yeah, nobody else knows about this except me and this other person, and we're so in love. And it's a very powerful experience, but then for some reason, obviously it happens, often it happens when you're very young, too young to get married and to make those kind of commitments.
And there's no pressure, so you really actually feel more open.
Yeah.
You're just so much energy, so much emotion, and you haven't been heartbroken before, so you're basically fresh new experience.
Yeah.
And so it's heightened. In a way. It
is heightened. And we forget often how powerful our emotions are in that early age. Mm-hmm. Romeo and Juliet, I think she was 14 and he was 17 or something like that. And, I know it's fictional, but but it represents that early love experience. Very powerful. So when it doesn't work out for some reason, or people move on and you go off to college or you graduate and something, happens, then they're left with that sense that was my only chance at love, or my true love.
The big love in our life.
Yeah, and after that, it's over. I have to just get serious.
Get serious.
And
have a serious relationship.
Right. That doesn't involve those passions. And so, in a sense, we get stuck in the past because we're holding on to that ideal image of love and not being able to bring that passion into the present. And
compare that love to your adult relationships and think, how come I don't have that intensity? It must not be love. And you end up dismissing people because the intensity isn't there compared to that person. And we always say that you go back, if you ran into that person again 20, 30 years later, they are not the same person you imagine that you have in your mind, that time. And the person you were when you were that age and the person they were no longer exist. So there's this imagination, this fantasy of what that was and what it could be that you're hanging on to that's not really realistic.
Yeah.
Not that you didn't experience those feelings at the time, but if you hang on to them, they could get in the way of you facing forward. You're living in fantasy. So the next one would be the ex that it really broke your heart. And some of us, our first love was the one that really crushed us. Maybe our first marriage, our first serious relationship. And we think, I'll never do that again. I'll never let myself get broken again, heartbroken again. And we tend to live in the past. In a sense, everything we do is about protecting that past. That I don't want that injury to happen again. It's just like if you were bit by a dog when you were a kid and you're afraid of dogs now, it's the same thing. You're bitten by love, and you're going to do whatever you can to avoid it because of the past. And that would be living in the past as well.
Right. They're all about the exes, but I call this one the one that got away.
Another one, yeah.
It's a distinct category because the one that got away is the story of the one relationship that almost happened. You were so close.
Joe in the copy room.
And if I had only made it happen, if I had only gotten up the courage to ask her out or to, marry me or to do something, right? To take that next step, my life would have been different. And I hear this story a lot, and it's a way of being stuck in the past because, again, it's a fantasy. That relationship doesn't exist except in our mind. And it's a way of thinking of this ideal possibility of your life that never happened.
And it's also the person, you're projecting so much on that person. And if you're not in a relationship with them, you really are making up who they are, how they would treat you, what would happen if you were long-term together. So your mind is always, if it hadn't had an experience, will always look for, oh, it's going to be so wonderful, and we're going to dance on the beach together. And it is, I hear that so many times people will run into them again and say, oh, I can't believe I used to have a crush on that person. It brings it all back to reality. And again, all these three scenarios are about what did I do or not do in the past that's driving my current love experience?
Well,
how is that getting in the way?
We haven't gotten to the third, but the third is the ex that happens more in your mature life. Right, so you get married or you have a long-term relationship. Maybe you live with a person and it doesn't work out for some reason. God knows all relationships should work out, right? But for some reason they don't. And you end up with this past, and you might even have kids together, right? And so there's that continued dealing with the ex. And that ex, if you haven't resolved all the issues around that, let's say you're still resenting how it happened or what happened, or there's unresolved issues, then you're caught in the past because your mind is always going backwards and looking backwards to what happened in the past with the ex.
Especially when you have children, because you can't, I know I didn't have any children, so a lot of my exes I never have to see ever again. But if I had a child with them, they would be in my life forever. You have to constantly deal with them, especially if you have small children and you're sharing custody. You're seeing that ex and their new partner, or what's happening in their life. You know more than most people know. So it's almost you're forced to face the past almost all the time when you have that scenario. But it doesn't mean that you can't move on. And because that person is in your life, or you have to share custody, or there's certain things family events that you'll see that person at, your lives may be intertwined forever till your kids grow up, you can still separate that and have your own life. But a lot of times I think people don't, because they're afraid to move forward. And all these scenarios are really about keeping you stuck in the past, keeps you basically safe and in your comfort zone, and you can fantasize, and you can fantasize not only how great it was, but how bad it was, and dwell on it, and listening to sad Adele songs, what could have happened. And I know for me, so many years before I met you, I was so stuck in the past of the relationships I screwed up, the ones I missed out on. And very, very interesting how...
Oh, yeah. It's very easy to fall into that trap, mainly because we come from a culture that perpetuates this idea that our parents screwed us up somehow, and that therefore we're going to always mess up relationships. And, it's about going to therapy for 20 years so we can get cured and become better adults. That's a myth, basically, the culture perpetuates through movies and literature and stories that people tell. But it's not necessarily the truth. The truth is we can always move on, and we can always find a way to resolve the past issues and be present to our life. But let's move on. So that's one category, and obviously we're not covering all the scenarios. There's a million
I'm sure
of them.
There
We've
are.
heard a million stories. But in general, right, if it's not the past, it's fear about the future.
And so fears about the future, it's really surprising to me how many times I hear this. Not surprising, but it's interesting that most people, especially we work with a lot of independent, successful career women. They've really made a name for themselves and are very financially stable and have a house, even have their life all in order. And they feel as though they've been independent for so long that a man coming in is going to mess up their life, is going to disrupt the life.
Walking with dirty boots.
And I'm going to have to clean their underwear is going to be everywhere, and dirty socks and toothbrush. And they're going.
Yeah, I think you're discouraging people right now.
No, but I hear this like they're going to be in my space, and so a lot of times I tell people to visualize what it's like to be living with someone, if you haven't, or if you haven't in a while, to see if that's an issue for you, because it really comes up a lot. They're going to mess up what I created, and I don't want to. They think of the future with someone as a very destructive thing, but not consciously. They want love, but then they're also afraid of that.
Yeah, and people are always afraid of making the wrong decision.
Oh yeah,
and so that hesitation in making a decision, making a commitment, or choosing a person and saying, I want to have a relationship, holds them back, because the fear is that, what if I get stuck with this person? Or what if I make the wrong decision and then the right person shows up?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too. That feel almost like you don't want to settle, and the fear of settling, and then what if I pick this person? Yeah, then someone better comes along, and then what do? I'm stuck. I'm trapped. And then also the fear of repeating the past, that you're going to pick the person and then the same thing's going to happen over and over, that people are projecting all those fears into the future before they even date someone, or even when you first meet someone and you're not getting the response that you want from them. Maybe that you're not sure if they're interested. You're projecting into the future that they're going to end up leaving you, or end up being a problem in your life, or every little thing you're predicting how their future is going to be with that person. And you're taking these microcosms of events and making them these blanket visions of the future, such as going to a restaurant and maybe you're sharing the meal, or he says, I'll pay the tip if you get it this time. And your mind goes all the way to the future of, oh my God, I'm going to have to support this person and they're never going to pay for me, just really magnifying the fears.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the present, and the present, you can think about not taking action, not really playing to win, but just kind of being in that holding pattern.
So you're somewhere between the past and the future, we just discussed, and the present is, that holding pattern of you're not going for it. You're waiting for the right time, procrastinating, making up excuses of why my friend Mary, she went online and she had a terrible time. I better not do it. Or I went online. I've had people say, I've been online for 3 days and I hate it. I'm like, 3 days? I was online for 10 years. So that you don't give anything a chance. And that idea that you're playing not to lose. So it's better for me not to take any risks. And we're really paralyzed by that fear that Absolutely. I'm going to be hurt, or fear of the future, or fear of repeating the past.
And some people just get too comfortable, even though it's not the life they want. It's not, even sometimes it's not the relationship they want, but they're comfortable, and therefore that's it. I'm not budging. The past, well, it's gone, and the future's too scary, and so I'm okay where I'm at. And they just, it's either settling for whatever's at hand, or settling for being alone and saying, I'm just going to make do with what's available to me right now, and that's it. I'm going to have to make it work.
Another thing that I see, behavior that's very common, is focusing on the short term versus the long term in the present. You're really focused on, how do I get the next date? How do I get through the weekend? What am I going to do for the next month? What website should go on now? Instead of thinking of the vision of love and being in a long-term relationship, even thinking of what it's like to be in a relationship. Most people are worried about just the dating itself and getting someone to call them back. Those really short-term wins versus the long-term vision of having this great romantic relationship. And in all these scenarios, I have to say, the one thing they have in common is all you're doing is focusing on your ego, yourself. It's a very selfish way to be, is thinking about, when am I going to get hurt? How come he doesn't love me? How come he's with someone else? Like looking at the past or the future, they're going to mess up my life. And it's all very self-centered. And of course, this is not to make you feel bad, but this is just how the ego works. And for us to be truly free and have love is that we have to get out of that ego thinking and start thinking of, what is the higher reason for love that's going to get us away from these three traps of being stuck in the past, afraid of the future, or paralyzed in the present?
Yeah, that's right. And what is the solution, Debbie?
Well, one of the solutions is to notice that when you are focused on you and your needs and your fears and your pain, and even your need for approval, that you're really not looking for love. You're really just looking to feel good about yourself. And that's not what love is. Someone does not come into your life to make you feel good about yourself. Can you imagine, Rob, if on our first date, I said, please give me compliments. Please make me feel secure. I mean, that's really what we're saying a lot of times when we go on dates in our mind. Please show me signs how important I am and how lovable I am and how beautiful I am and how interesting I am. Please show me those signs. Please give me that reinforcement. We know that's not what love is. Love is that I want to know who you are. I want to open my heart. I want to be vulnerable to see you. And so really understand, of course, it's a process of letting go of that what about me scenario in your head, but to know that true love is about a joint shared experience. Isn't it about just feeding your own ego, feeding your own agenda? And if you notice, you will see when people, a lot of times people feel that someone is coming on too strong and they're being very needy and they're really repulsed by it because they see it for what it is. They see that person doesn't even know me and they're needy and it's all about their agenda. And that is not attractive. So what is the higher vision for love?
Well, if you're stuck in the past, I'd say the vision is to find some closure. Mm-hmm. Find a way to say that chapter of my life, we're not denying it. It's not like pushing it away and saying, I need to forget that. But you find a way to say, that chapter is gone. It's closed, right? I'm on to the next chapter, or maybe even a couple of chapters down from that early experience and the X or the divine love that I had. I'm here now. And in the present, it's about really finding a vision for yourself of what is your full potential in love. Just like people talk about their full potential in business and their career and success, what is your full potential in love? Do you have the capacity? Do you want that incredible relationship in your life? This is the time to make it happen. It doesn't matter how old you are, how many bad experiences you've had in the past. If you can be present and if you can create a vision of what you want and take action towards that vision, it will become your reality. Your thoughts become your reality. That is the one principle that we always teach. And the fear about the future, once you understand that it's your mind that's creating your reality, you lose the fear of the future because you're the one in control.
Not the universe and some external force that's separate from you.
Yeah, not the dating games out there, not the technology, not the dating sites.
They're not in control. Not the men or women in your town or the lack of opportunity.
And not your parents in the past. Your parents didn't screw you up. Nothing can, some people had hard times in childhood, yes. We're not saying that's not a factor. But all those things can be overcome if you understand the principle of your thoughts create your life. Because now you are the one in control. And you start taking that initiative towards creating your life.
And there's a witness inside of you, the part of you that's been with you your whole life, with the in and outs of your thinking from ups and downs when you have a good day or a bad day. There's one constant in your life, and you can't really touch it, but you know it's there. It's the part of you that's basically following you your whole life, and that's your true self. And that true self has never been harmed. It's never been heartbroken. It's never been hurt. And it can never be hurt. And so when we say you're an ego and you're worried about protecting this little persona out there in dating versus how can I love from this higher place? How can I love with an open heart and know that no matter what I do, I'm going to be okay because there's this part of me that has never left. It's the only constant. And really practice getting in touch with that. A lot of our programs, we do help you get there. And it's really a mental process. It's a step-by-step process of not just hearing these ideas and thinking, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's the intellectual understanding. You have to have a direct experience of this witness, of this true self. And once you do, your fear will dissolve away. The fears of getting hurt, the fears of would they like me, the fears of anxiety of what you can create in your life, anything in your life, money, success, your health, all those things you will be able to have wonderful, amazing control over and direct the way you choose. So we invite you to come actually check out, we have a 3-video series. Go to attractgreatlove.com, and it's a 3-video series where I just talk about your love potential. And it comes with a visualization that you can listen to about physical attraction and bring up unconsciously what's really in the way. And a lot of this that we're talking about, you're probably stimulated some ideas in your mind. I never thought of that before. And it's your unconscious information starting to come to the surface so you can see it. And they're your blind spots that stop you from really moving forward. And so that's really a great way to look at life, is that the past, the future, and the present can really be in your control of how you see it, how you perceive it, and how you live it in every day.
That's right. Great topic, and I'm sure we can definitely go on.
I know, go on and
about
on.
This, but hopefully we'll do another podcast on this.
Yes, don't forget to subscribe to us. And if you would like to interact with us on Facebook, we have a Creative Love Community. Just search for Creative Love Community and join our community and join the conversation about having great love in your life. Again, if you haven't checked it out yet, please, if you're in the New York area or can get to the New York area, we'd love to meet you in person at Creative Love Live, April 21st and 22nd in New York City.
Hope to see you there.
Take care, everyone. Have a great day. You've been listening to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. For more information, visit us on our website at creativelove.com.